This is Link to the Cast, your weekly dose of video games and nerd culture ephemera, available everywhere good podcasts are sold. I am the party host this week. I am the platforming prodigy. I am Mark Robinson. This is the second attempt at recording episode 219 for reasons we'll get into shortly. And with me, as always, he is Mr. Consistency. He is Jack Lazell. Jack, how are you?
I am fine, Mark. Yes. Some roadblocks were hit with last week's show. The great lost episode of Link to the Cast. Everyone will be pondering what was on it.
It was a really good episode.
It was.
It was.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, Garrett Kidney.
We laughed, we cried. Garrett Kidney came on, stole the show, cut promos on TNA, all sorts of stuff. It was good times.
So, yeah, basically, I had everyone's files. I was editing the show, having a grand old time on Audacity, and then I closed out. And then I went to open it, and it went, nope, this file is corrupted. So I was like, okay, let's see if we can try and do something with this to try and get it to open. Nope, just didn't want to open at all. And the mistake that I made, which I'll never do again, is I was editing the track off of the file that I recorded for my own audio track. So instead of what I should have done, which is exported my file as a WAV file to have as a separate file, because the idea, I don't know how other people record their podcasts, but I basically grab all 4 separate WAV files or 3 files, whatever, throw them into a new Audacity project and record from there. I didn't this time. I just recorded off of my own original file, which meant that as that file was corrupted, I couldn't get back my own original recording. And yes, alas, the file, the episode is lost.
Alternatively, just use Logic, and then you never have any problems.
Yes, well, I'm recording on a PC, so...
Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah.
Your glorious PC master race over there.
Yeah, you say that, but there's a chance that my PC could reboot any second, so, yeah.
Do you want me
on all cylinders.
Do you want me to just fill time and see if anyone notices? Like I'm on a long promo about Pokemon or something, and then no one will even notice that you're gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just did you see that new Growlithe? Have you smelt that new Growlithe? Yeah.
Did we talk about that last week?
Yeah, we did talk about the new Growlithe.
Fuck's sake. I'm going to be like, yeah, so we spoke about this last week, and no one's going to know. Yeah, I think the motherboard on my PC is starting to die, so if I just disappear at any second, not that you'll know in the post-production, but for you, Jack, warning in advance.
I feel like you've had this PC for 5 minutes.
Oh, don't, just let's, yeah.
Can you just get Sean McGee to build you a PC? He seems to know his way around it.
I can build my own PC now. It's just the fixing of the PC is the problem, which is why I never wanted to build one in the first place or own one.
Yeah, a bit like me with cars. I built my own car out of a mattress and some random wheels that I found, but I couldn't fix it and make it work. It was really frustrating.
No. How are you?
I'm not bad, Been knitting some seat belts for my new car. No, yeah, everything's good. Slight sore throat, as you can probably hear. Not sure what happened. Don't have the Rona again. Just seemed to be going back on public transport, travelling back into London. Just forgot how much of a petri dish of germs it was for everybody. Yeah, I feel like my immune system needs to get back up to scratch as soon as possible, mate.
Well, it's like when people go to Comic-Con or games conventions or whatever, everyone comes away with some sort of disease afterwards.
Or when you go back to uni in September and you get the freshers flu, where everyone gets sick for the first week or two because everyone's just rampantly hooking up with each other and drinking out of each other's glasses and stuff.
I never got that because I only went to one event during Freshers Week and I was there for about 2 hours. So I
living the gimmick.
Living the fucking gimmick, let me tell you. Are you so give me kind of a snapshot of how busy the underground is at this point. So for anyone that doesn't live in England or hasn't been to London, the London Underground is just complete chaos 99% of the time. You go anywhere on the Central Line at any time of day and your face is pressed up against the window. There's no space, you can't breathe, and during the summer in particular, it is the most miserable place on earth. I'm not saying that's why I left England, but I'll add it to the many, many reasons. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being peak London Underground, where are we at the moment?
I feel like we're at about 6. So when I've been travelling, it's been busy, but it's not been too bad, really. And I do go through some quite major stations, but yeah, the London Underground is so hot that I think on the hottest day of the year a few years ago, there was a guy who did a temperature check on, I think the Bakerloo line was the hottest line. It was 33 degrees on there or something, which is just pure insanity. But yeah.
And there's no air down there at all.
There isn't.
You know,
There's no. I mean, there is air, but it's that like 150-year-old air, basically, just being recirculated. Yeah, it's it's the only way to get around London though that has any rapidity or urgency about it when the trains are actually working. So, yeah. Aside from train talk, I'm doing pretty good. I feel.
What's your bright spot? What have you been up to?
Been to the movies, see some good film, just one film. Been to some football, which was nice. Going back and being a football supporter again. Another potential location I could have picked up my sore throat. I'm just thinking about now all of the things I've been doing.
Well, are you masking up on the underground?
Oh, of course, yeah. I masked up on the underground. I didn't mask up on the overground. I do like locally. But when you've got a 2-hour train journey to Liverpool, the idea of wearing a mask for that entire time is, it's just not going to happen, basically. So I kind of just like freewheeling it on there.
I don't know. I feel at this point I'm so used to wearing a mask that other than because I've got a couple of different types of masks, and I have one that has like it's like string that's attached to it, and sometimes I find with that one it makes the top of like the innards of my ears gets a bit sore with like the friction. But that's like the only issue. Other than that, I don't really notice that I'm wearing it most of the time.
To me, it's the heat. So I've got they're quite decent masks in the sense that they really don't let much in, although you're probably hearing my voice now and think maybe they're not, but they're just really hot, so there's no like ventilation to the face. They just sort of hug the face, and as they hug the face gets warm, which in the winter is a lovely byproduct, whereas at this time of year, you know, it was actually quite sunny. It was like 21 degrees in Liverpool last week, so it was like quite warm and stuff on the train when I got on there, so I was like, well, don't fancy this on the way home. But yeah, every other place, like shops, you know, trains, all of that good stuff, masks all the way. But yeah.
I have to ask the question, do you have a Chelsea FC mask?
No.
Oh, you disappointed me.
I don't know why. I just don't want to be... Look, and I'm not judging anyone that does this. I just don't want to be one of those pattern mask guys, or like that has the brand on the mask or any of the stuff like that. I just want a plain mask that people can ignore, you know? I don't want to be like having an alternative version of my mouth on there. Or
are you like the New Japan Young Lion equivalent of the mask wearing? You keep it plain black trunks?
Exactly. Like my mask looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin's attire, basically. Except maybe without the vest. Which comes out for special occasions.
Or the golden knee braces he was wearing at the end.
No, I'm wearing the knee braces, you know, just for swag more than anything. But yeah, it's just a plain black mask or a plain grey mask. I really don't want to push it any further than that. I don't know why.
See, I'm perfectly fine. Like I've got like a Totoro one. It's like plain black, but like the white outline that makes out that it's Totoro. I've got a couple from work actually, and they're actually more like on a functional level. They're really good because they're quite tight, but they don't give me that friction. So I actually quite like wearing them purely just for the form, but they also, you know, advertise the company and everything.
Mask chat.
Like well, you know what? Do you know what? Like, Dave's not here, so I'm just dragging this show down. I'm making it as mundane as possible compared to you two fucking carnies and the bullshit you talk about.
Yeah, that's true. We don't we don't really plan any of that either. I never know what I'm going to talk to. The thing is, I go into a conversation with Dave knowing what I'm going to talk about and then talk about maybe 10% of it. That's kind of how that works. And you just get excited and talk about bullshit instead. But yeah,
well, I mean, here we are talking about Mars.
Yeah, I know. It's usually like early 2000s rock that we're talking about. You know,
I did see this morning
your takes on A or something. I don't know.
That rival schools.
Yes, the 20th anniversary. Was it 20th anniversary?
20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Of the one song that I remember by them used for Glue.
Yes.
And whatever the rest of the album is. Maybe I'll actually go and listen to that album because I never have.
It's a good album. Yeah.
I imagine it would be.
It's just a post-hardcore album. It's a really, really good one. You know, it's not like, you know, it's more on the punky end rather than the emo end of like the post-hardcore.
Yeah, it's like when people would say, God,
it's closer to like Fugazi than it is to Glassjaw. Is basically the point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good record. I listened to it a few times, but yeah, new noise or whatever is the song just kind of has eclipsed, I think. Sorry, not new noise. I'm thinking of Refuse now, but yeah, Use for Glue has kind of eclipsed, I think, a lot of people's, it's weird when a band gets known for one song, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah. But it's also, I think it's one of those songs as well where people would recognize the song but would have no idea the name of the band. But like, I only remember the name of the band specifically because they're named after like a 90s fighting game.
Is that why?
Yeah, that's why I remember specifically. It's actually a pretty good game. But I only had the demo disc for that game specifically.
Yeah.
But I remember playing it and because I had that and Bloody Roar. Like, I never played those two games outside of the demos that I had for them, but I really, really liked them. But yeah, so as soon as I saw there was a band called Rival Schools, I was like, hey, that's are you know, is it named after the fighting game? And that was the case.
I wonder what games like, bands in 10 years are going to be named after.
Jesus. What are we going to get?
You know what I mean?
What games are out at the moment?
What?
Ape Out.
Ape Out. I'd love to see a band called that. Now that sounds like a sort of like Henry Rollins-esque thing. What about like Mass Effect, the band? What would Mass Effect sound like?
And there probably is a band called Mass Effect, but that's like, I'm thinking Explosions in the Sky, some sort of like post
Gears of War
bullshit.
would absolutely be some sort of grindcore metal. Some like,
I mean, that's already a Megadeth song, so.
Well, yeah, but I know if you go for the full on for the band.
Yeah, then I'm thinking like kind of the equivalent like Hatebreed or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it could go Hatebreed. What would be like a really good name for a sort of floaty, kind of emo-y sounding band? Probably Life is Strange, actually. There you go.
Yeah.
Kind of fits the genre and fits the thing.
I mean, honestly, there's probably a bunch of those types of games that have been inspired by that sort of music anyway, you know?
Yeah, crossover.
What Remains of Edith Finch? Absolutely a post-rock band.
What Remains... That is such a great name for a post-rock band. So much so that I think we should start that. Everybody message in whatever instrument you can play. You come and be in our post-rock band. Washboard. Fucking Glock... We need a glockenspiel. We got any Glock players out there listening to this podcast?
No, specific. We need 2 glockenspiel players.
Oh right, I see.
Let's fucking.
What, like a lead and a rhythm glockenspiel player?
Damn right. I want twin harmony glockenspiel.
Oh, dear. Can we just all play glockenspiel? You know, like
yeah.
You know that sort of like song taking the piss out of like Landfill Indie a few years ago. We all play synth. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. No.
Right, yeah. Just type in "we all play synth indie" onto YouTube, and there'll be like, yeah, it's a video just basically mocking that whole indie scene from like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago now. That's kind of like just an East London cut down, but yeah, that'd be like the post-rock version of that would be that we were all just in there playing glockenspiel, or just listening to Sigur Rós and wishing make us sound like that, like Coldplay did with Radiohead all those years ago.
Do you know, I spent some time thinking about Coldplay yesterday. I don't know why.
I like the idea that you set aside time. I'm just going to think about Chris Martin for a few hours.
And I was just thinking about Coldplay, and I was just like, where did it all go wrong?
What do you mean, where did it go wrong? I mean, if you look at their bank balances, I don't think it went wrong for them at all.
Okay, I mean, you have to give context. Like, when you say, where did it all go wrong? Yes, from a financial aspect, they're doing perfectly fine. But I remember those first 2 albums, and I was having a grand old time with them, and I still think A Rush of Blood to the Head is a very good album.
Yeah.
But I just remember hearing the opening, like, I say riff, but the opening motif of Speed of Sound, and then the rest of X and Y, and I was like, this is some fucking beige, vanilla, fucking, like, just dad rock, not even rock.
Yeah, but what they do...
And Fix You is the most drab fucking ballad.
Yeah.
And Coldplay can write a good ballad, and Fix You is not one of them.
Here's the thing, though. The way they were sounding is always influenced by other people. There's nothing original about Coldplay. So, like, those first 2 records, very, very clearly influenced by, like, Radiohead, Travis, other bands around that time that like, not that Radiohead and Travis sound alike. You're taking the sort of like mainstream appeal of like a Travis and then trying to in the second album then trying to push that sort of Travisy sound more towards a Radiohead, you know, like piano based minimalist approach. Then that third record is like, after Snow Patrol had hit really big, Fix You's like, well, we need our own version of Chasing Cars, right? So let's.
But I think Chasing Cars came after Fix You.
I don't think it did. I think
Because X and Y is like 2002, 2003, and Chasing Cars is definitely after
No,
that.
it's not. Like, Rush of Blood to the Head was 2003.
I thought Rush of Blood was like 2001, 2002.
No, man. That was 2003. Chasing Cars was recorded in, I think they're probably around the same time. But anyway, that sort of sound, anyway, was kind of, like Keen and all of these
Keen, that was the one I was
all of these
thinking of,
motherfuckers
yes.
that sound like that. And then, you know what, the album after that, they're like putting, orchestral and all of that stuff. And it's like, oh, right, Arcade Fire seem like they're doing really well now. What we're going to do is we're going to take elements of what we like about Arcade Fire and Coldplay it. And then that worked for a while. And then it was like, oh, right, okay, so band music is kind of dead now. We're just going to go all electronic and make some sort of electro-pop EDM influence music. And that's what Coldplay do. They just follow whatever the mainstream sound is and then interpret that through their own versions of writing pop songs, which is like, you know, it's fine. If that's what you want to do to have a career, it's fine and it works. And if you've got a good enough ear to do it and get people to still buy your shit and still engage with it, then fair enough. It ain't for me. You know, I prefer a bit of originality, a bit of interest, a bit of like something edgier than a fucking Satsuma, which is what Coldplay are. But yeah, it's a route almost to, you know, basically pay tribute to all of the other types of music that Chris Martin and the others seem to be listening to at the time. I think Coldplay is like, it's not a covers band, but it kind of is like a genre or a sound covers band. I've always felt like
it is like a. The best way to describe it, it's like a U2 covers band, but without actually.
Yeah, there's elements of
Streets
U2.
of No Name.
When they started,
yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, when they started like getting to that stadium level, that was when they started writing that stadium level music, you know. But then it's not just them that did it. Like Kings of Leon, you know, bands that you would say that felt like they had more authenticity or whatever than that, just end up going in that direction, you know. Whether it's producer choices or just general, you know, we're supporting bands that sound like this, and now we want to write a song that sounds like it would fill an empty arena. It's just the way people choose to go, you know, like that's just the sound change. So you never, the thing is, it's very rare that, like, unless a band stays kind of very true to the sort of music that they make all the way through their career, there's always going to be people that jump on and off bandwagons of bands when they change their sound around as much as Coldplay do, because they don't care about the other kinds of music, but they do care about this kind of music. So I think that kind of be my opinion of it in an essence. I mean, you could shorten it and just say Coldplay suck balls, but, you know.
You're a little bit more eloquent than
yeah,
that.
I haven't. I'm not the guy that sat around thinking about Coldplay too much, but that's just how I feel.
That kind of it should give you an idea of what I had to do yesterday, which was not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Anyway.
Do you know what?
Anyway.
I did yesterday.
What did you do
to segue,
yesterday, Jack?
I saw motherfucking Shang Chi and the motherfucking Legend of the motherfucking Ten Rings. And it was...
Is that the full working title?
Yes, as coined by Samuel L. Jackson. Who was probably leafing through it and being like, where's my cameo in this movie? I'm in like everything else. Why am I not in this? Really good, Mark. Really, really good. I think I had no real expectations of kind of what it was going to be about or how it was all going to work. It kind of had it's not the same feel of movie, but it kind of struck me in the same way that Guardians of the Galaxy did, where I really had not a lot of knowledge about any of the characters or the lore or the history behind it. But, as you know, so I kind of went into that not really having much of a clue what they were going to do with the movie, and then was really surprised that, which I shouldn't be at this point, because, you know, whether you're a fan of the Marvel style kind of trademark, and thinking, you know, all of their films are quite similar, but, or in the way that they play out, but, you know, you're people just on board with that, which I feel like I am. I always enjoy Marvel movies. I've never thought this is like pig awful. Then you would like the film, but I think it's a bit better than that. I actually think it kind of is closer and akin to, and I'm not saying it's as good as, but almost as good as Black Panther was when I saw that, in that you're getting a completely different blend of culture from what you're used to, from the Marvel Universe and from sort of an American, centric tilt, which at one point during the movie I thought, oh mate, are they just going to stay in America from now on? This is going to really suck. But they didn't, which was a good, which is lucky. By the way, I'm trying to steer clear of spoilers here, so I'm being quite vague. The fight choreography and stuff in the movie, like the first big fight scene in the film, funnily enough, in line with another fight scene from Bob Odenkirk helmed film that I saw earlier in the summer, was on a bus, and it fucking ripped. It was awesome. And just all the way through, the fight choreography was fantastic. Apparently, the guy passed away after the film came out, but he used to be a choreographer for Jackie Chan. So it has that real sort of Jackie Chan kind of frenetic paced kung fu element about it. And there actually is a sort of a nod to a scene from Rush Hour 2 in the movie with some bamboo. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
The one thing actually I want to ask, because one of the main issues that I have with a lot of the MCU fight choreography in general, and I guess this kind of extends to a lot of modern filmmaking when it comes to action sequences, is a lot of the combat is very close knit, very like tightly focused on the performers, and there's a lot of quick cuts. Where a punch is thrown, but as the punch is landing, you're cutting to another shot or whatever. And I know a lot of this is based on filming tricks where you have seconds and you haven't got the actual actresses doing the fight sequences because they're not trained or they're not at the level where they can do whatever the case may be. And it's always, I have this in mind, but still, I'll go back. Like we watched Police Story a couple of months ago, and just watching that and watching how those fight sequences are done, and I imagine it'd be the same if I went and watched some Bruce Lee or whatever. Like, those fight sequences, there are a lot that the camera is way further out. You see everything that both stunt performers, martial artists, whatever you want to, whatever they are, you see the full expressions of what they're doing. There's none of those quick cuts. Fight sequences can last 15, 20 seconds depending on what they're doing, and just a lot of modern filmmaking doesn't do that. So for me, I guess what I'm curious about is like, does it kind of lean more towards the kind of classic tradition of fight filming, or does it do like kind of a hybrid? Because I can't imagine it would do the whole thing, because there's way more in terms of like CGI and effects that are going on.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. I think earlier in the movie it focuses more on the fights, and just like they feel weighty, like the punches and the hits and stuff. It feels good, like kind of like when you watch John Wick or something in a sort of hand-to-hand combat sense, where you can just feel the hit of the punches and the impact that they're having. It kind of has that. And then obviously it does kind of go in a more CGI direction later on in the film, without spoiling too much. But it doesn't feel too invasive really until the last scene, and then like towards the end a bit. Like then if I think you're kind of done with CGI, then you might not be too happy about it. But I thought what they did looked really good. I just think some people, like say like the end of WandaVision, when it was like her and Agatha/Agnes just lashing spells at each other, like floating around in the sky. If you hated that and you thought that was awful, like there might be parts of the end of this movie that you don't particularly enjoy. But I thought the character work and the way that everything was kind of set up was so good that you almost kind of forgive it for those moments. But yeah, the fight choreography was good, and yeah, the best thing about it really is just kind of learning about this whole new corner of the Marvel universe that you kind of had no knowledge of going into the movie. And there is a cameo from a previous Marvel movie of a character that I thought they might give a little nod to this character, just because of his association with I'll say the Ten Rings, and that character actually had a lot more of a prominent role in it than I thought, and that put a really big smile on my face. So you'll probably enjoy that. There's a couple of other characters from in and around the Marvel universe that tie in, but they don't do it in a particularly intrusive way. They kind of do it in like a naturally delivered way. And yeah, it's just a very good film. I cared about the characters, I cared about their motivations, and I really enjoyed all of the scenes that they were setting and all of the areas. And the sort of, I guess, bad guy for the majority of the movie, who you're not really sure kind of is a bad guy, really, is kind of like somewhere sat in between. You understand why he is the way he is, what he's doing or what his motivations are, and it makes it all that more believable than somebody that's just evil for the sake of being evil, which is just, which they've done in a couple of their movies, which that Marvel sort of weak villain problem is always kind of hitting home here and there and everywhere, but that definitely wasn't the case in Shang-Chi either. I just had a really good time with it. It's very hard to go much further than I've gone without getting into like real kind of detail as to why I loved it so much. But I'll be interested to hear what you think about it when you do eventually see it, Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get around to seeing it some point this week, I imagine. It's one of the first times when it comes to the MCU that Maria isn't that interested in going to see it. I don't know if it's particularly like just MCU burnout, or she's just not like fussed about action films or whatever. Because she saw Fast 9 with me, and if you thought my response to that film was muted at best, hers was even further down.
Yeah, I could see her hating that for like just that. I don't think that kind of style of movie particularly washes well with her personality. But yeah, she would really like Shang-Chi. I think there's a lot in Shang-Chi that even if you don't really give a shit about the fighting and the action, the story is really well developed and the characters are genuinely interesting and relatable in ways. And then obviously it escalates into sort of like, Marvel stakes or whatever. But by that point, you're kind of bought in so much on the characters that you just go along for the ride. Well, I did anyway. So I actually think she would really like it, just because I think it's a good character piece, as well as a good action film as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it as well, just because my knowledge of this part of the Marvel universe is I know nothing, so I'm looking forward to going in with just like a complete empty slate and just
and you'll enjoy it that much more, because I didn't know a lot either, really, and I decided that there's no point in me doing any research either. I just want to go in and watch it for what it was.
Yeah, and for me, in previous encounters with films where I didn't know anything beforehand, I kind of enjoyed watching it the first time, and if there was anything that I didn't understand or like references that were lost in me, I would go look them up, and then if I needed to or wanted to, I'd watch the film a second or a third time, and would have a little bit more of a deeper understanding. And that isn't an issue for me, because I don't think with these types of films that you have to bash everyone over the head with a subtlety hammer and make everything explicitly clear. I'm fine with having a couple of things that might reference something that you might not be aware of. Like sometimes it's okay for letting people go away and doing the homework, then coming back for a second and a third viewing that makes a lot of that more clearer. Like obviously you can't have major plot points of a film be completely opaque, and if you don't understand the full context of that universe, but little bits and pieces here and there I'm okay with.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of explainers in this, like lots of flashbacks and stuff, but they don't feel too intrusive. They kind of feel like they're just taking you on the journey. I don't know if everyone will feel like that, but I did feel like that. I think I wouldn't classify myself as a Marvel fanboy. Like, I'm not blindly defending everything they've ever done kind of character. But I think if you are a person that enjoys Marvel and, even retaining elements of like having the critical part of your brain in terms of the storytelling, I still think you will enjoy this. There's maybe a couple of holes you can pick, but they're small holes. But for the vast majority of what happens in that movie, I think they executed it really well. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing what part Shang-Chi plays in the Marvel Universe in the coming movies, because they do some teasing into that as well, which is fun.
Yeah, I guess that's also the exciting thing, is this is the first proper like Phase 4 film that actually is part of Phase 4. You know, it's kind of post Endgame and everything. So that aspect of it has me intrigued as well. And I guess to see how that ties in with everything with the recent television shows. Speaking of which, keeping on the theme of Marvel and television shows, you also watched episode 4 of What If. From what I understand, is based on Doctor Strange.
Yes.
But I don't know the specifics, so because I still haven't watched any of it yet.
Really?
No, I don't know. I partially we're still hammering through Parks and Rec at the moment, and speaking there about WandaVision, and we've got to the bit with Catherine Hahn, who plays the campaign manager for Bobby. I can't remember Bobby Newport, who's played by Paul Rudd.
Yep.
Who is excellent at being just a complete buffoon. So we've just got to start season 5. But yeah, it's kind of taking me away from watching anything else at the moment.
Yeah, I think when you're binging a show and there's so much of it, like there is with Parks and Rec, it does kind of really inhibit your ability to get into anything else, because you just tend to like, oh, I'm going to watch this for an hour, and you can watch 3 episodes kind of thing, and then before you know it, you've been watching it for like 3-4 hours, and it is quite a watchable show in that sense. But yes, episode 4 of What If is probably my favourite one so far, I would say. So the idea of it is Doctor Strange's accident that messed up his hands and sent him to kind of, you know, try and learn the mystic arts to kind of rebuild himself, is basically flipped on its head. And at that point, his missus from the movie was in the car with him, and she dies. And so obviously Doctor Strange then seeks the help of the mystic arts to kind of go and see if he can use the time stone to bring her back. But unfortunately, every time he kind of goes back, she dies, no matter what he does, whatever way he goes, because this is like a center point in time. It's really important. This is like the key thing that really influences Doctor Strange to kind of seek out the mystic arts, the ancient one, and like become the sorcerer supreme and all of that. So that when that's explained to him, because it's a really dark montage of just his missus just death after death after death in different ways, and this is within the first 5-10 minutes of the episode, and you're like, oh, okay, they're going dark on this one, you know. And like they got all the voice cast back, so it's Benedict Cumberbatch, it's Rachel McAdam, it's Benedict Wong, like all the people that you would kind of want to be in it. Even Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, which was pretty cool. So yeah, then it's like there's a fractured version of Doctor Strange. One version of Doctor Strange accepts this and knows that he can't bring his missus back and has to just kind of carry on and, you know, become the Sorcerer Supreme and realise his power and importance in the universe. But then there's another version of Doctor Strange who doesn't accept it, and then starts going down a really dark route and summoning all these demons and like horrible, like twisted things from other dimensions to like absorb their power for like hundreds of years. And you see these montages of like these messed up, like really trippy creatures, and Doctor Strange just kind of absorbing all of their powers and their forms and stuff. Anyway, so obviously then you get to a point where there's a showdown between the two Doctor Strangers, so I won't go any further than that, but the way it ends and the content of the episode is so much darker and more kind of downcast and genuinely a little bit scary compared to anything that they've done in the series so far, which makes it stand out to me. And I think they make a really bold choice with the way that they end it, because you know, Marvel stuff doesn't really normally end the way they end this episode. And when you actually think about what happens to Doctor Strange into this episode, it's pretty terrifying and it's pretty dark. But yeah, and we get like the first glimpse of the Watcher as well in his form, actually having a tiny bit of influence on the story and understanding of what's happening. But yeah, I just highly recommend. Really enjoyed it. Would be interested to see what, you know, you or Dave or Garrett or, you know, Barry or Sean or any of the other people that would come on the show would have thought of this episode. But yeah, it was an absolute home run for me, I thought.
That's really intriguing because I know one of the main complaints we've had about What If so far is just these storylines just being like a palette swap of the original storyline, but with just here's a new character in place. And this, really sounds like it's branching off into something new
Yeah.
and unexplored territory.
So they do. They
that's cool.
they kind of half do that with one version of Doctor Strange, and then the other version of Doctor Strange. Man, it really is a sort of like almost Jedi versus Sith route of kind of storytelling in what they do with these like fractured Doctor Strangers. And yeah, like I said, it's just dark when you're just seeing the repeated deaths of his missus, like in all of the ways that he's like desperately trying to, because she dies in a car crash, obviously, because that's how he hurt himself. So he starts going different ways, and she dies in other car crashes. He starts like, okay, we're just gonna stay in and have pizza or whatever, and she'll like have a heart attack, or like he doesn't go to her house, and she like there's a fire or an explosion or something, and she dies in the wreckage, and you just see him drinking in a bar like with his head on the table, and it comes on the news like that she's died, and you're like fucking hell. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think they've kind of really gone out there for. And it's only like half an hour, 40 minutes, but if they played this out for an hour and maybe got even a bit more out of it, I think I would have enjoyed it maybe even more. But what they do with that sort of half hour of it, I was impressed by it, I would say.
Someone really doesn't want that Eurovision film to happen. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, Ding Dong would never have existed. It's so weird that Rachel McAdam always ends up in these fucking time travel movies, by the way. I feel like someone just typecast her as time travel woman, because like you got like the time traveler's wife, there's like About Time as well with her, that Richard Curtis, who wrote like the Four Weddings at the Funeral and Love Actually and all that, he wrote. That's her and Domhnall Gleeson, which is quite an interesting film. Bill Nye as well, who's one of my heroes. And then obviously her in Doctor Strange, and I was like, how does Rachel McAdam end up as like the missus in all of these like, is she just attracted to the concept of time traveling men, and does she give that vibe off to Hollywood casting directors? I don't know.
Maybe she actually is the Sorcerer Supreme.
If that is true, then yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe she's going on these things and she's like, if I around time travel, maybe eventually I will become time travel. Who knows?
We'll move on to what we've been playing, and I got two things. So I went on a lengthy diatribe about Axiom Verge 2 last week that I cannot muster the energy to do again, but I finished that game, and I will probably leave thoughts and opinions till Game of the Year, because I imagine we'll have things to talk about.
I was about to say, that's ages. It's 3 months away. Jeez, this year.
Not that far away.
It's in motion, isn't it, this year?
Yeah. But one of the things I'll start with is a game called Beatstar, which is a game on mobile phone. I'm playing on my Android phone. And it is a musical rhythm action game, very much in the vein of Guitar Hero and Rock Band. You pick a song. You'll have notes on the screen that you have to tap in time with. This actually focuses more on the vocal melody than the actual music. But you are tapping in time with that, and if you've played one of those types of games, you'll know exactly what the game is asking you to do. A couple of things that I like about it, though. So when you start, it seems pretty simple because you've only actually got 3 lanes to work with as compared to the 5 that you have in Guitar Hero. So you think, 3, that's pretty easy, like whatever. But it adds a couple of different things. So you have just your standard buttons that you tap as they come on the screen, but you also have, sometimes you'll need to swipe in the direction that it asks you to do as it gets to the part of the track that you need to tap. It has the thing where you can hold down for a specific period of time, and you might be tapping other buttons as well. And it just has a couple of things like that that makes it keeps you engaged, and it's not just tapping for the sake of tapping. The other thing as well is that it doesn't have a like easy, normal, difficult mode that you would have in a Guitar Hero. It just has tracks are either really easy or tracks are really hard, And what it does is it actually builds up the difficulty over the course of the song. So you'll start the first bit of the song and it's, you know, it's pretty basic, but by the time you get to like the fourth or fifth stage of the song and you get towards the end, there's way more going on. You're way more engaged, and it kind of warms you up and gets you kind of ready for that last bit of the song. And I actually quite like that. It's quite a nice process. So that's all good. It's very slick. Like, I really like the overall presentation of it. It's one of those types of games that you don't really have to do a lot for, but I think that everything is very clean in its presentation, and so I'm a fan of that. It does have all of your general, because it's a free-to-play game, so it has all of the stuff that you'd expect. There's a store, you can buy hard currency, you can buy tracks with that hard currency. And, you know, if you want to do that, that's your prerogative, whatever. It gives you, I think it's like 5 or 6 songs to start with. And
what kind of songs are they? Is it like just mainstream pop or rock?
It's a mix. So, like, in the first batch of tracks, I had Jimmy Eat Well, the middle. It gets you to train, like, you can pick between a couple of different genres. So, I had all the small things in there that I used to kind of, like, figure out the mechanics. But, yeah, it's a mixture of genres. There's pop, there's hip hop, there's, like, you know, modern hits, and then there's rock as well. Like, I've seen Lithium by Nirvana is in there. I unlocked Sugar We're Going Down by Fall Out Boy.
I'm sure you're gonna love playing along to that.
Whatever, you know. I'm not 17 anymore. I'm past that stage of my life of being angry about emo pop punk.
Are you saying you're gonna get more than you bargained for with that?
Potentially. Yeah, and, like, you know, when you complete a track, you can get out of 5 stars. 5 stars, I think, is like a perfect run, so that's quite difficult. So most of my performances have been 4 stars, but you'll get XP from that, and you'll get those stars, and they all kind of build up, and they unlock boxes which have cards, which, you know, and sometimes you can pick, like, do you want these 5 cards which are for, like, a pop song or a rock song, and you use them to build up, and then when you have enough, that unlocks a new song for you. So, like, the metagame part of it isn't as egregious and doesn't annoy me as much as a lot of free-to-play games can do. And I'm liking that I'm, you know, unlocking you can unlock songs pretty quickly, in fairness, even without just going straight ahead and purchasing them. And I'm happy to just play it a couple of times. And the other thing as well, actually, that I think works really well because it's a mobile game, is it doesn't give you just the full song. It will actually, you know, if a song has a fairly lengthy intro, it will cut most of the intro out and get to the point where, like, the melody's happening, which I think works pretty well for a mobile gaming environment. It will also do, like, it doesn't have the solo in the middle by Jimmy Eat World, but it's not, again, because...
I mean, that's not a long solo either, so you're definitely not going to be seeing Freebird on this game then, for instance.
No, Jesus Christ, no, I fucking hope not.
And like the final level's not Dragon Force, like through the fire and the flames or anything.
I can't imagine so. No. So I think it's you know, it keeps it very quick, very precise. Like, I don't think you're playing any song for more than like 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes at max, which I think is optimum for this type of experience.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm enjoying playing it. If you enjoyed Guitar Hero and Rock Band, this is a perfectly serviceable like mobile game adaptation of those types of games, and it's an easy recommendation because, hey, it's free to play.
Yeah, those kind of games just died a death, didn't they? I don't know whether it was like the peripheral element of having, like, you know, you had to have the drums or the guitar or whatever to do it, or if it just kind of died a death from a point of view of, like, there's no need for a new one of these every year. Really, you just need the one game and then just bring out new song packs and stuff on it. Like, they did like a Metallica one, didn't they, and a Beatles one, and there was all sorts of stuff going on.
Well, the reboot of, I can't remember if it was Guitar Hero or Rock Band or both of them, did a reboot with that in mind, of just having like tons of songs and content that would be available. Or didn't one of them do like a kind of radio version of it where you would just have a live feed and it would just give you like different songs on a loop that you didn't have to pay for, but you obviously couldn't pick the songs. It was just, hey, here's the next song in the track, this is what you're going to play. But yeah, that did kind of die a death. I think just it, you know, with anything, it has a certain lifespan and then you kind of move on. I also think partially, you know, like guitar-based music in the 21st century
sure.
has gone in a particular direction, and that would be a steep decline in terms of quality.
It's more that it's not popular at the moment as well. Like, there are
It's that as
probably.
well.
Do you know what? This is the thing that I always love about the idea of music, is that there's probably 20 or 30 bands right now. If you're into bands, there's probably 20 or 30 rappers. If you're into rappers, there's probably 20 or 30 producers. If you're into electronic music, blah blah blah. Right now, that are out there that you don't know about, that are making music right now, that if you heard it, you would love it and it would stay with you forever. And that's the best thing about music, is that you can always... that feeling is always in my heart. Like, I know there's music out there still being made by, people that are now younger than me, that is going to be great, that I can listen to in the future. But I think the same thing happened with dance mats and stuff, right, as well. It just kind of goes around, But you've had a couple of rhythm games in the last few years, haven't you? You had Beat Saber, that you really enjoyed, Mark, I seem to remember. And then obviously we have this now as well. So I think they always kind of resurface, but the idea of this in like that format, that 2.5 minute digestible format to play on the phone or something, if you're on a train or a bus for like 10 minutes and you haven't got to have something unwieldy and play it in front of a TV and all of this kind of stuff, that's kind of appealing to me. So I kind of like the sound of what you've just described here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The other thing, I am about 2.5 hours into Psychonauts 2 now, and we did talk about it a little bit last week, but again, that episode doesn't exist.
Dead show.
So,
Dave said it was the best game of all time, if I seem to remember, was what no, just kidding.
I think currently this game is quite good. I am enjoying it quite a lot. It is... it is a direct follow-up in terms of where the story is from the original Psychonauts, but obviously this is a game, or the original was from about 20 odd years ago, and it's actually a game that I hadn't played since it originally came out, but I did play about 2/3 of it this year, so I'm kind of fresh in my mind, like what the original was doing and what the sequel was doing. And yes, there are aspects of that original game that have not aged in terms of like the game suffers for it, but just you can just feel the game mechanics and the evolution of those mechanics in terms of the platforming and the camera and the combat. We've come a long way since then, and just aspects of that in the original do feel a little bit dated. But immediately as you start playing this, and certainly if you've played some of the original anytime recently, the platforming just feels a lot smoother. The camera just... it feels like a modern camera. It's not getting in the way. It's not stiff. The controls in general don't feel stiff. And what is, I think, most crucial from what I found when playing the original, the combat in general in the original is just incredibly clunky and never felt particularly enjoyable. So your main character, Rasputin, he has a bunch of different abilities, from telekinesis to firing projectiles to setting like things on fire, and you can map. There's a ton of different abilities, but you can map 4 at any one time to the different shoulder buttons, or I think it used like the white and black buttons on the original Xbox controller. So you have to go into the map screen and you have to pick the things that you want to do, and just because it's a product of this time, getting into the menu screen to map them, it's a bit slow and it's a bit clunky, and it just doesn't feel as smooth as it could be. All of that feels a lot quicker and streamlined and just feels good. And crucially, the actual combat during gameplay is just, it feels a lot better. It's using a Z targeting system, a la like Link to the Ocarina of Time, so it's a lot easier to kind of, I know.
I thought you were going to say Link to the Cast then. I was like...
Or Link to the Cast, Link to the Past.
I was like, have we got a targeting system that I don't know about? Could I be flinging stuff at you right now?
Yeah, we target our enemies and fucking bat them over the head. But, it uses that, which means that when you've got, a couple of enemies on the screen, it helps to kind of pick out specifically, I want to target that particular enemy, which is handy as well, because in the original, the amount of actual enemies that you had to deal with in terms of the variety of enemies was incredibly limited, where here you have a number of different enemies that work in different ways. So you've got some that are flying, some that just kind of like gather you, swarm you in a crowd. So having that additional Z targeting option makes it a lot easier to like pick out specifically, I want to clear that guy first before I go and deal with that guy. So that's all good. And then also just in terms of like getting you back into this world and following along with the story and these characters, it's a Double Fine game. This is what they do. They write compelling worlds, and the original Psychonauts, for its faults, that world that it creates and builds and the imagination and the inventiveness of that world, it's all still here. It still has that magic. It still has the charm. Again, I am only 2 hours in, but it's already immediately like you're getting. There's so much like Inception that you felt in the original that obviously came way before Inception was released, but really kind of hammers you over the head now after seeing Inception. Like there's a whole bunch of just like mind trickery and being in the mind of a person and like manipulating them in a way that's on a subconscious level. It's doing that kind of stuff, within the first half an hour of gameplay. That's really fucking cool. And little tricks in the gameplay where like you've got a character who flips the world on like its y-axis, so where before you was running through the office, now the office is the wall and you're having to jump between like the kind of block sections that split like the booths of different personnel in their little office space. Now you're kind of climbing up to get to like wherever the enemy is. Just little bits and pieces like that kind of take a game like a platforming game from a one level up to like a kind of top tier level of creativity. So there's obviously still way much more that I need to explore. Like it's that thing where you have the prologue that kind of lasts for like an hour or so, and then the game really kind of jumps into like, okay, this is what you're doing. And I'm a little bit past that now, but I'm looking forward to jumping back into it. I was streaming a bunch. I streamed like the first part of it on last Tuesday. I'm probably going to do that next Tuesday. And yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping back into that world.
So, like, in theory, if this goes up on Monday, tomorrow, you're streaming it?
Yes.
Okay, good stuff.
Yes.
What would that Twitch channel be?
That would be twitch.tv/Lithium Project.
There you go. So you got to get these plugs in.
And crucially, it is on Game Pass, so I think that you should definitely check this out,
I
Jack.
saw it on Game Pass, yeah. And yeah, maybe I will check it out. I don't know. I didn't play the first Psychonauts, so I was like, do I?
It does enough with like the introduction, the kind of like giving you a quick snapshot of what happens in the original, that I don't think you need to have played the original to have a kind of clear, at least a relatively clear understanding of what's going on. But even without that, I think that the world and the characters are interesting enough that I don't think it's that much of a concern.
Sure. Okay. Cool. I have to check.
So that is Psychonauts 2. Now you got two things on the list. One of these games I know of but never played, and the other one I don't know. So I'm going to throw it over to you.
Kaboom. So I played, speaking of Game Pass, Dirt 5. Which is obviously the latest in what used to be the Colin McRae Rally series, but ever since then has kind of spun off into like its own thing. R.I.P. Colin McRae as well, obviously. So I played the first Colin McRae Rally, Mark, on the very first PlayStation. It was one of the first games I kind of had. So I always kind of had a little bit of a close affinity with the series. But
see, I wasn't a Colin McRae person. I was a V-Rally person.
I played V-Rally as well. I preferred the way the handling of the cars was on Colin McRae. Also, TOCA touring cars, if you remember that from back in the day as well. I never got into like the F1 games and stuff though, which I kind of regret. But I don't know. They seem more about the racing and being a bit more serious. I guess similar with Gran Turismo as well. I much prefer an arcadey racer, which is perfect because Dirt 5 is as arcadey racer as you can possibly get. So like I just jumped straight into the career mode, and then it immediately takes you down a path of like, here's all these different races. And, it kind of like has a webbing of like crossover where if you do one track in one terrain, it will open up two more. And then you don't have to complete both of them to advance to the next one. You just can choose whichever one you like. And then it's kind of like opens up different alleys of different races. the variation of races is really good. You know, like there's a good sort of 10 or 11 different countries that it will take you to, and different kinds of terrain, you know, whether it's like coming through like ruins or like, you know, like desert island palm trees, or like it's you know, in an actual town, or there'll be like, you know, like small kind of mountain towns and then like big cities and stuff. It's the environments and stuff are really cool. They're like, you know, you're whizzing through them quickly, but they're pretty beautifully constructed. And yeah, it's just a really instantly accessible racer. It's not so much about the cars that you're using, or you know, you don't have to unlock a million peripherals to, oh, I need to get a new injection cylinder for my V6 engine, and none of that shit. Which is the stuff that in car games kind of puts me off, because I've got no knowledge of it, and neither do I want to develop knowledge of which kind of fuel injection I need in my engine. I just want to pick this shit up and play it. And it's a lot of fun. There's a couple of drawbacks with it though. I did get stuck in the environment a couple of times, like where you know, might take a corner too tight or bend or whatever, and kind of got wedged in there. And then once that happens, if it's like the wrong sort of course, you could basically just write the race off, and you might as well reboot it as soon as possible at that point, because it's kind of over for you. There's a couple of courses, like the icier courses, or like there's one where you're driving these sort of like half tractor, half car things, where basically you spend the entire race sideways, and unless you're real good at the power sliding, I found it incredibly difficult to get anything other than sort of like, you know, like the last couple of places in that race, because that might just be my lack of ability, and it pretty much probably is, but I found those very tricky. So those were like the couple of little frustrations, but I found that it's a sort of game that, because there's no real context or pretext, even though there is like an attempt at a story, but it doesn't really hold any weight, to be honest. It's all a bit silly. You can just pick it up, do a couple of races, put it down, pick it up, do a couple of races, put it down and stuff. So which is the perfect game, really. It's a sort of like very casual play, and I enjoyed it. I don't think I would pay a full game price for it. The fact that it's on Game Pass allows me to kind of dip in and out of it, and this is the sort of thing that, when I kind of got Game Pass, I think these are the sort of games that I intended on playing, like obviously launch back into Peggle and silly stuff like that. And obviously if there's something new that we have to play for this show that kind of everyone's going to play, or it relates to, maybe it might be a game of the year or whatever, I might pick it up. But I just want the Game Pass experience for me to just be either an amalgamation of old games that I really like, or games that I wouldn't pay a full price for, that I can pick up and play casually. And Dirt 5 fits exactly into that. It's like a standard sort of 7 out of 10 good fun arcade racer, and they let you choose a nickname on the game, and there's about maybe 20-30 of them, and I chose Cheesemonger, so I was the Cheesemonger. And it's pretty satisfying when you get like first place and your little tag comes up and it says first place Cheesemonger. So yeah, I am now the first place Cheesemonger.
Have you played any Forza Horizon 4?
I haven't played Forza yet. I definitely do want to play Forza though at some point as well. For a similar reason, is that I don't think I'd ever buy a full price Forza game, but I definitely would download the one that's kind of on Game Pass to pick up and play. So yeah.
Yeah, because I really like that, and I know Dave has spoken on the show that he likes it. I'd be intrigued to see like kind of comparisons between that and Dirt 5, because I think the last one I played was Dirt 2 or Dirt 3. I know I definitely owned one of them before. Might have been the original. And I had a good time with them. Like the cars feel good to control. How does this one look on your Series S?
It looks really good. It's like a really it is intentionally arcadey, but the environments are beautiful. I must say that they put you in, like, specifically love the kind of more snowy kind of countrysidey environments that look more rally-esque, just from, you know, like the roots of the series. But yeah, it's just like they've gone for a specific style, and it does feel like something you could easily, you know, sit in one of those booths in an arcade where you've got a steering wheel and pedals and stuff and go and play in there. But obviously with like a real 2021 sheen of just looking, everything looks really shiny. The damage that applies to the cars and stuff as well looks pretty cool. As I say, the only drawbacks really are just like the clipping into the environment every now and then, and like some of the ways that the cars handle can be frustrating, and without really a real good guide to let you know how to drive each car, The vast majority have got pick up and playability, no problem, you figure it out. But there's a couple where I was just like, it would be good to maybe have like a little tutorial, and that might be buried somewhere within the game. But I was like, no, fuck this. This is a hands-on experience for me. I'm just gonna go for it, kind of thing.
Does it have a good vista? Because I find driving games tend to have a real good vista at some point.
It does. It looks really nice, like the environments and kind of the way they lay out ahead of you, especially like the towns, because as you get like hills and valleys and stuff, you can see different parts of like what's laying out ahead of you, and it looks really good. It looks nowhere near as good as the images I've seen of Forza. Like I feel like Forza and this are doing the very different elements of what driving games are.
It's another reason I suggest like downloading Forza 4, even just to play it for a couple of minutes, because that game is real pretty looking.
It looks spectacular. Yeah,
I'd also
go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, I'd also suggest, also on Game Pass, Art of Rally, that came out last year, but is on Game Pass now.
Yeah.
That is also, that's a low poly game, but that also has some really good vistas in it as well. So I'd suggest checking that out as well.
Yeah, I think like your review of it kind of put me off, because it kind of sounded like something I'd play for like half an hour, and then probably never play again.
It absolutely probably is like that, but
Yeah.
Just to even kind of see again, like, because it has some real nice, like, when you get to certain points of a track that you're quite high up and you're looking over like the valleys or the mountains or something,
Yeah.
it does some really nice kind of framing of like a vista coming down, and it just I think there's a particular area in one of the Japan tracks where it has like the cherry-orchard trees and it has the sun coming through, and like even for a low poly game, I was like, fuck me, this looks really good. Sorry for hijacking your Dirt 5.
No, like absolutely good contributions. Speaking of lovely vistas, I also played Lake this week. Now, Mark, how much do you know about Lake?
I don't know what Lake is.
So Lake is the sort of game that I really enjoy, that I don't know, I think that you might struggle with a little bit. So Lake is the story of a woman called Meredith who, she works in IT in the 80s. The game's set in 1986. And she has agreed to help her dad out because her dad's gone on vacation to Florida and he is a mailman. And she has agreed to go home to her small town in Oregon, which is by a beautiful lake, and then just go and help out and deliver the mail for 2 weeks. And the game is set over the course of those 2 weeks, and it is literally just about you're there, you deliver the mail, you speak to all the characters, you have different options and different things that you can help people out with, but it is very much almost just like a life sim, and it is really insanely relaxing to be playing this game. It has it's not like a full-on Life is Strange feel, because it's not as kind of melodramatic as that. It is just the chillest fucking game that you could ever think of. And there's something about small town American life that I almost kind of has this like hazy, like idyllic feel to it, of just like, what would be like to kind of grow up in one of these places where everyone kind of knows each other and there's like a real sense of community and friendliness, but because it's America, you're like surrounded by, like in this case a lake, but like beautiful countryside and vistas and all this sort of stuff. And I think listening to a lot of kind of Midwestern like emo bands, or just people that kind of talk about being products of like the small town American environment, I always kind of had this weird like idyllic version of it. And again, in movies and films, it just looks like something that you kind of want to take in, and this is kind of like a nice slice of that. That being said, there are a couple of things about it that maybe aren't great, which is a bit buggy at this point. I think maybe these are things that they could just fix, but the handling of the mail truck isn't great. And you bump into stuff quite a lot because you haven't quite got down the how to turn corners very well and stuff like that. But the game's not really about the driving element. I mean, I think I saw a reviewer saying this game is like Grand Theft Auto for people that like to obey traffic laws when it comes to driving, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And I'm sorry, if you Google that phrase, you will find that excellent reviewer who reviewed that, and I forgot to credit them for that. So yeah. But
But so is the game like, is it story based? Is it? I
yes,
don't say quest based. That might be a bit absurd for what this
it's a
is,
bit of
but
both. It's a bit.
okay.
It's like they're little quests. They're easy to solve quests, but it really is about the story and the feel. It's a feel game. You know, you're transplanting yourself into this small town in Portland, and the crazy characters of like, you know, the guy that owns the mail house who's also running like a betting thing on the side of it where people are giving envelopes to him and all sorts of stuff. There's like a crazy old cat lady. There's like a gruff guy who, you know, lives by the lake who's a fisherman. There's like a lovely there's a diner because it's a small town in America, Mark, and there's like a really overly friendly diner lady who makes you kind of feel.
I feel like at some point this game has to have like a sinister twist or turn. It feels like it's set up for that kind of thing.
You would think so. That the most sinister thing I think is the guy that's being investigated for his betting syndicate thing, which, you know, you just don't dob him in or whatever, and he's fine. You know, there's like a really sort of bureaucratic dick who's like the only thing that approaches a villain. But the intention of this game, Mark, is just feels. It's just chill. It's just, here's some story, here's some stuff that's happening. None of it has a lot of particular you know, weight or importance really or anything like that. It's just transplanting you, and it took me about 4, maybe 5 hours to play through this thing, and it's just transplanting you into this person's life in this little juncture, or this little window, this little snapshot, and I quite liked that. I enjoyed it. I feel like the story could have been better. I feel like they could have developed the characters a bit more. It does hint at more interesting things. This is where like the differentiation between a game that is as well written as kind of What Don't Nod Deliver with Life is Strange and this, it kind of comes apart a little bit. And, you know, there's 3 options kind of, or directions that she can kind of go in at the end. And, you know, you've got 2 options of different relationships. Like there's like a cool girl who works in the video store you can date. There's like a lumberjack guy you can date, or like, you know, she's got the option to kind of return home to a IT job, and you know that's going really well, and she's really good at it. And I don't really know that they did enough to develop the relationships. And by the way, that's not really a spoiler, because that's very apparent after, like, you know, the first sort of half an hour of the game. Kind of, you know, people are immediately asking her like, oh, do you think you're going to stay around much longer, or are you going to go and do this? And you're like, okay, so the whole game's kind of like leading me up towards these decisions. But then when you answer different things, you get different responses from characters, and they kind of give you, you know, their own advice or their own feeling. Like, you know, there's like an angle with her best mate that when she was a kid, where they kind of like haven't spoken for years and they catch up again. It's just a very nice game. Again, it's probably another kind of 7 out of 10 style game. You're gonna play it, you're gonna enjoy maybe the time that you spend with it. You know, some people might not enjoy the delivering mail element of it. You know, because it sometimes feels a bit form and function, some of it, but some of the things that you deliver kind of lead you into different conversations and meeting different characters. But, you know, half the things you're delivering are just delivering mail, so if that doesn't sound ideal for you, then yeah, by all means don't play the game. But yeah.
Do the conversations with people, do they branch into like different options?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So
they branch into different options. You know, people like, you know, cat lady will be like, oh, can you help me out, look after my cats, or can you help me do this? Or like, you know, lumberjack guy, you're like, he you know, someone's trying to build apartments on his land, and he's like, can you help me with the legal element of this? Or
do you feel like there are actual kind of consequences to the things that you choose?
There are.
I'm not saying like it has like a morality system or something, but
no, there are. But again, at the end of the day, it all leads you down these different paths to choose what you kind of want to do at the end. But depending on what you do in the game, it will make you feel affinity towards certain characters. Like, you can just be a dick to people for most of the game. Obviously, I didn't choose that option to be a dickhead, because I feel like it would be a much less satisfying thing. And then, like, when you get to the conclusion of the game, everyone's like, we don't want you to stay here because you're an arsehole, kind of thing. So it'd be interesting to go back and play through the game like that. But yeah, everything about the game is very sort of like considered pace and kind of develop at a sort of like slower rate than you might be comfortable with if you're not into these sort of games where you kind of want to delve in and develop your understanding of the story and the environment that you're in. But yeah, it's the soundtrack is cool as well. I think when you're kind of just cruising around the lake and stuff in the van and you don't have the radio on, it's just like really nice, tranquil, acoustic, atmospheric kind of sound and stuff, which is like reminiscent of like Life is Strange. But then if you have the radio on, it's a small town in Oregon, like in the 80s, and there's like maybe 6 or 7 different country pop songs that they've recorded for the game that are like sort of halfway between folk and alternative and country. And if you have the radio on all the time, you'll get bored of it because you're like, well, I've heard all these songs now. But like after a while, you realize that like the best bits about the radio are like the local weather report, or like, do you want to ring up and say something nice, or if you got any pet peeves about the town, and then all the townsfolk ring in and have different segments and speak about things. And
it kind of reminds me when I used to play GTA 3 and I would only listen to Chatterbox Radio, and it was like the same. It was like a half hour, 40-minute loop. But my God, I must have listened to that fucking entire thing like 100 times, if not more.
It was very funny. That's like proto podcast, isn't it? Really, because they weren't really a thing at the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it'll be your bag necessarily. I think it's like 15-16 quid on Xbox at the moment. It's on Xbox and Steam. I think it would be a good Switch game to play. I think it is coming to Switch at some point, but at this point it's only on Xbox and Steam. And I think maybe the few bugs or whatever that do plague the game a little bit, when they get fixed and worked out, then it would be much more enjoyable experience to play. I would say I could have done with autopilot a bit more during the game. Like when you're driving down the same roads or whatever, you might get a bit I've done this before kind of thing. I just want to get to the next story part of it. But Lake is just, if the idea of spending 4 or 5 hours in a small town America where you're finding out about people's lives but without any dark and twisted consequences sounds like something that would be very relaxing to you, with acoustic / country infused pop in the background, then you should definitely play Lake. And I really like the way the game looks. It's not like the graphics aren't incredible or anything, but it's got this sort of almost like comic booky, cel shady but not quite look to it, that is it's a very, very relaxing time and some nice vistas, as you like to say.
I'm actually playing a game at the moment that has some similarities, I think, in terms of the pacing, called Alba: A Wildlife Adventure, which is you're playing as this 10-year-old girl on an island, kind of similar to, I'd say, like a Gibraltar, one of the Canary Islands, and your grandparents live there, and you go to visit every year. And she's wandering around this island. There's like a nature reserve that the mayor of the island is trying to get it turned into a hotel resort. And so she has to save like the nature reserve, and like the main gameplay mechanic is you're taking pictures of the animals that you see. So it's got, I'd say it's Pokemon Snap, but it's not really. But the pacing is very similar, I think, and I'm really enjoying it at the moment. I'll probably talk about that more next week. But no, I quite like the sound of what Lake is offering.
Yeah, it might be worth it, if you don't want to pay 15-16 quid for it, probably wait a couple of months, and would imagine it will be discounted down. But it'd be a good one to get in, I think, before like Game of the Year, because I did enjoy it. But yeah, bit more development in the story, bit less buggy, then I'd probably give it more than the 7 out of 10 I gave it. But we'll see if they make any improvements to it as it comes to more consoles.
Cool. Moving over into the news, and we got a few things to go through, so let's get to it. First of all, Nintendo is set to add Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles to the Nintendo Switch Online feature, which has been confirmed by Eurogamer. Word that Nintendo will bulk up its Switch Online back catalog, which, let's be honest, should have been doing since fucking 2017.
Yep.
Has discussed, there's been various discussions about possible handheld games Nintendo could bring to the Switch subscription offering. Nintendo Life sources then offered their own confirmation on this. So, Eurogamer have been able to separately corroborate these reports, and they've also heard that other retro platforms are also on the cards. Nintendo Switch Online's classic game library currently includes around 80 NES games and 50 SNES games, though the totals vary between regions. And it's fair to say that many, if not nearly all, of the platform's biggest games are now available via the service, and fans are keen for something fresh. This month is the third anniversary of the Switch Online service, which originally launched in September 2018, offering a selection of NES titles, with SNES games began trickling out in September of 2019. So, first of all, this is cool. We've been desperately needing some more content to come to the Switch Online service, and it goes without saying that the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color have a wealth of games in their back catalogue that can be added. I certainly, for one, I'd be more than happy to give 6 golden coins another playthrough on the Switch. More crucially, though, what I'm hoping from this is that at some point they'll get the GBA games up there as well. So I can play a good Mario Golf game on my Switch this year.
Yeah, sometime in 2024 when they dust off those GBA games.
What do you make of this?
I just feel like this is something they probably should have done ages ago, but it's a welcome addition. Yeah, they're just, drip feed the content on their consoles, don't they, Nintendo? This is their MO. This is the way that they approach putting things on an online store, which has always been quite bizarre, but I feel like no one really questions it anymore. We're all just kind of used to it being like, oh, Nintendo, we might see some N64 games in like 4 or 5 years' time, It's just the way they are.
My biggest concern with this, though, is they're going to put like fucking 4 Game Boy games and 5 Game Boy Color games, and they're going to be the most niche or just bang average fucking titles, and we won't actually see any good games from that back catalogue for however long.
I don't know though. If you look at the NES and SNES stuff, there is an element of that in there, but then there also is like titles that you would want to get involved with. So I think it'll be a healthy blend. Like you will see Super Mario Worlds, 1, 2, and Wario. I reckon in amongst your like super niche shit that maybe only got released in Japan and like America for like a month or something before they stopped producing it. Like it'll be a blend, I reckon, probably. Just from, because how many like NES games are there on there? There's like sort of 2030 and 2030 SNES games around that when you go on that little virtual console thing on there. So yeah, I don't even really notice it. I really don't feel like I reap the benefits of my Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh god, no!
But
not even remotely.
But it's on like an automatically refreshing pay thing at this point. So like once a year I get an email going, your NSO account has been renewed, and I'm like, oh right, yeah, cool. That's like whatever, 15 quid or whatever that I'm not gonna
enjoy this Nintendo.
I'm not gonna have for the rest of this month. But yeah, because times aren't too hard. I've not cancelled it so far. If it was more like 40 or 50 quid, I think I'd be like, hey now, what are you doing? But yeah.
What I would really like, again, going back to the GBA, and I tweeted about this the other day, I'd love to have those Fire Red and Leaf Green Pokemon I say remakes, I guess, but having them on the Switch and having some sort of cross functionality, however the fuck that may be, with Pokemon Home.
Well, they did it with the Gen 1 stuff when they rebought that out on there to get that into Pokemon Home. Oh my god, they did.
I completely forgot about that.
So it's possible. Obviously, it won't trade backwards, but you can...
No, but that's not what you'd be doing it for.
But then when you say that, it just makes you want Heart Gold and Soul Silver on there. And again, I don't know if we'll ever see a DS game on there. If they're only just getting to Game Boy and Game Boy Color now, like that might be, a fucking, just universal leap towards something that they just aren't going to do. This year was like an anniversary for Pokemon, like I think so, was it 25-year anniversary? So really it would have been cool if they're just like, look, here's all of the Pokemon games, and you're like, okay, but they didn't do that.
Well, I mean, I think they're swamped considering we've got both the Pearl and Diamond remakes and Arceus, so it's not for a lack, and they also released Snap this year, so it's not for a lack of,
Oh no, not at all. I can't complain as a poker fan this year. We've got some stuff that's come and some stuff that's come in that I'm happy about. But yeah, I just don't see why they don't just bring all of the gens out at this point and then have them tie into Pokemon Home, because they'd make an awful lot of money from that. But yeah, that's the same with any of their other games. This is standard Nintendo, really.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have a selection of break glass in case of emergency options available in the future. So, I'm sure it's not the last we'll hear of that kind of thing. Pokemon is the ticketed 2020 Safari Zone events that were held off last year because of the pandemic. Will finally be held this autumn as hybrid events with the option to play either in person or from home. Those with tickets to 2020's postponed Liverpool, Philadelphia, and St. Louis events will be able to visit the cities and take part there. Alternatively, the option to play remotely will be supported as well. So here in the UK, the Pokémon Go Safari Zone in Liverpool will now be held February 15th to Sunday 17th October in the city's Sefton Park. I actually don't know much about these events. I don't know if they were doing them previously. I've never taken part in one. So I'm curious to kind of know how these work and how they would work from a hybrid factor. And I guess actually, are you going to travel up to Liverpool for this, Jack?
No, because the key part is you can get a ticket and you can still play it in your local area, which I've said, I think, before in this podcast, is the pandemic has this is one of the best developments, because the idea that people are, because they've done one in Dortmund before, they've done one in Chicago kind of before, the idea that you're gonna have to get, if people want these like event exclusive Pokemon, like if I'm just like a kid, I'm like 15 and I want to get involved with the Safari Zone thing, the idea that I have to maybe get myself halfway across the globe to go and play and interact with it, I get that it makes it special for the people that are in attendance, and it's a pretty cool community style thing and getting people out to these places, but at the same time, the idea now post pandemic that we've seen what a Pokemon Go Fest could be like, or any kind of in-game event where we're getting special spawns and it's just happening in your area, and you can live in a tiny town in a really remote part of like fucking Rwanda or somewhere, and you can still do the Safari Zone just with everybody else. That's much better. It's much more accessible and it makes your game better. So I think it's cool. I think it's still good to get people to go do these local events within the country, but not having people feel stressed or FOMO enough that they have to fly to another country to take part in the event is a good thing. So yeah, it's good to see in the last few weeks with Pokemon Go, learning their lesson on trying to push back the Pokestop interaction distance, and then the fans all just telling them no, please don't do this, then them learning their lesson. I feel like they're making good inroads into reaching out to the community a little bit more, and trying to improve like little bits and pieces within their game that the devs could definitely work on. And yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
So as for what these new versions of the 2020 events will offer, Niantic has said to expect featured creatures in the wild and attracted to incense, as you'd expect from an event also playable from home. There will also be a new special research quest line, plus 8-hour incense and lures, so you can hoover up Pokemon all day. Again, all of these will be available to ticket holders wherever they choose to play.
Yeah, and you know what? They're going to make a lot more money from people playing globally than they would do if people had to fly to fucking Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like Niantic had to have their arm twisted too hard for this kind of thing. It's like, oh, we can have more people playing and make more money. Why not? We haven't spoken about CD Projekt in a while. It's actually been scarily quiet, but they're back in the news, as they've told investors that it can't say with full certainty that its highly anticipated Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3 next-gen updates will launch this year, despite the developer insisting it's still aiming for a late 2021 release. An enhanced edition of The Witcher 3 for PS5 and Xbox Series XS, promising the likes of ray tracing and faster loader times, was announced last September, while a proper next-gen version of Cyberpunk 2077 was touted in June 2020. Both were initially scheduled for launch this year, but the status of each has been somewhat unclear in light of Cyberpunk's disastrous launch and the resulting studio reshuffle and revised development roadmap as CD Projekt worked to improve the base game. So both updates are still scheduled for late 2021, but the SVP of Business Development, Michael Noah Kowalski has now admitted to investors during CD Projekt's H1 2021 results call that the studio is definitely still aiming to launch this year, but it can't say with full certainty that the production schedule will not change. Now, that's fair enough. I would like to think that if they're in a position where, you know, they're trying to improve on certain things in the likes of, you know, crunch and things of that nature, that they will be happy to extend and delay this till next year if it means that, you know, people aren't working above and beyond what they should be doing, which obviously had been reported kind of widespread with the initial build-up and release to Cyberpunk. So, you know, if it is the case, this isn't like, unlike a bunch of other things that we've had reported this year, I wouldn't consider this to be like a disaster or like an actual negative. If it's them being realistic, it's like, look, we're not overworking our staff, we're going to push this back to next year. I'm totally fine with that. So, you know, of the stories we've had this year, this isn't one that I'm kind of wanting to poke the dead horse. But still, it is news and it is an update, and we haven't had one for a while about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I mean, they already trousered a bunch of the money from it, right? So they can wait as long as they want to update these games.
There is also that, yes.
Yeah, so, like, you know, they're not going to be selling any more for the time being, probably. So what they're doing is just taking their time to finish off the updates and get them to the point where, okay, this is playable now. I can interact and be happy to play this game. It's no longer a complete disaster. So yeah, this doesn't shock me. It was drastically underdeveloped when it came out, and it looked like it would potentially take up to a year to fix a lot of the problems that they had in the game. And yeah, at some point, if it turns into like a No Man's Sky style scenario, I would just like to know when it's okay to go and play Cyberpunk and interact with it and have a good time. I guess for the meantime, I could play, is the Witness? You have a similar style cyberpunky game that came out a month or so ago.
No, The Ascent.
The Ascent, sorry, not The Witness. Yeah, The Ascent.
No, The Witness is a game I never want to talk about again.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. That was a slip of the tongue there. But yeah, The Ascent. So I could always go and play that if I wanted to interact with a cyberpunky style environment for the time being, and then yeah, just wait on whenever Cyberpunk's good and then go and play through the game and see if I enjoy it. So yeah.
If they actually manage to get that in a high quality playable state, will you go back and play that?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've already bought it. I didn't bother to get a refund just because I couldn't be asked.
That's the Jack Lazell I know.
Yeah, because I thought, look, at some point I'm going to want to play this game. I don't want to then have to pay out again to play the game, you know.
True, but I would imagine by that point, I mean, it's already the amount it costs to actually buy the game now is drastically less than what it was at launch.
Yeah, but I guess when they they kind of bring it out and they bring out the next gen patch, I reckon they're gonna. I still think they'll be charging at least close to what full price would be. So
maybe. According to CD Projekt, just over a third of the company is currently working on Cyberpunk. Both on the PS5 and the Xbox Series XS versions, as well as supporting the original game, and the Cyberpunk team most recently released its biggest patch to date, including the likes of an improved minimap and notably a first batch of free post-launch DLC. So yeah, about a third of the team. That doesn't surprise me, because I imagine you've got, well, I think the Witcher 3 update, that's being outsourced. So God knows what the other 2/3 of the company are working on.
Witcher 4.
I don't know the story of Witcher 4, but I don't think that's...
Send Danny O'Dwyer down there and he'll get you the story.
Just send fucking Dave Ryan down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, last thing. So, Sonic Colors Ultimate, which is a remastering of the... God, when the hell was this released? Like 2010, around there maybe? I remember playing it for 10 minutes and not enjoying it. But basically, yeah, this remastered version has come out, and it is quite broken. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look through any of the GIFs or clips that are in this article.
Oh, yeah. I mean... they've just been on Twitter this week, you know. There was one day I think that Sonic was trending, and I just clipped into it, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. One of the things that, with the world that we live in now and with how easy it is to share content from games straight from the platform itself, the device itself, means that, you get a lot of, like, when shit is broken, you will see about it very, very quickly. And as is the case with Sonic Colors Ultimate, there's a whole bunch of things here I've seen with, like, missing textures, Sonic clipping through the geometry and then falling into, just the dearth of space. Um, there's, like, some sort of ability that allows you to kind of move around as, like, a ghost or something, that if you go into, and you can, like, go between solid surfaces. But I think the glitch is that if you come out of that ability while you're in, like, a wall, you'll clip through it and then you'll just fall into space again. And then the worst thing that I saw, which is the last one on this Eurogamer article, it's just there's a seizure warning on it, which is needed because, there's just a blast of, like, pinks and yellows and colors, and you can see, I don't know if it's like an overworld map screen, but I can see Sonic moving between platforms. But it just, I think you select to go into the level, and then it just turns into, like, some fucking trippy, like someone's hacked a program or something, and you're just getting all these kind of random flashing images. I've seen, games that have been broken. We was just talking about Cyberpunk, but I've never seen anything like what the fuck that this last clip is showing. It is unbelievable.
The barefaced cheek of them saying that this is the Ultimate Edition is it's just a piss take, isn't it, really? There's nothing ultimate about this unless it is literally the last thing that they ever release of Sonic. I could not care at this point in 2021 any less about Sonic if you tried. Like, I wouldn't cross over the street to meet Sonic. I don't know if I would piss on Tails if Tails was on fire. I'm just like,
wow,
so removed from any Sonic-based product. No, I don't hate Sonic like that. That's just me messing about.
It's just,
but I just don't care. So when I saw this, I was like, look, the insanely passionate fan base you have for these games, like, there are still people that are so into this. This is like people's, like, childhoods and stuff. Just take a bit of care and just deliver a remaster that's... What was that? What was the remaster from last year that was, like, really disappointing of the old cel-shaded game? 13.
13.
Yeah. Where it's like you've got this really intense community, probably even a lot smaller than who kind of likes Sonic at this point, but, it's just such a big slap in the face to people to put something like this out and just completely half-arse it. So hopefully they fix it soon.
It's not even... It's just, like, 3D Sonic games in general at this point are notorious for being, like, half-baked or just, broken. I mean, there was... I'm now trying to remember my subtitles of Sonic games, and this isn't going to go well, but I think there was, like, Lost Worlds... on the Wii U that was just, like, half-baked to all degree. There was the Rise of Lyric, which is notorious for being, like, just one of the worst fucking games from the Wii U era, in terms of just being completely, like, underbaked and missing textures. And, like, I remember watching a clip when Dan Reichert and Jeff Gerstmann were playing it, and, within the first 20 seconds, the frame rate just oscillates wildly from anywhere from, like 5 frames to certainly never reaches 30. And Jeff is just like, what is up with the motherfucking frame rate in this game? Like, it was astonishingly bad. But at least with those, again, the last video clip that's on this article, I've never seen anything like that. It kind of reminded me of... there's a game called Hypnospace Outlaw that does some really trippy, weird stuff, and it reminded me a little bit of that.
I thought you were going to say the Hypnotoad from Futurama, because that's kind of what that background flashy thing looked like.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that as well,
glory
I guess.
To the Hypnotoad.
But yeah, and so the Switch version in particular has come under fire, which, doesn't come as a surprise. Sega enlisted the help of US port specialist Blind Squirrel Games, which worked on the excellent Mass Effect trilogy remasters for the Sonic Colors update. Yeah, and there's also like there was a port, there was an open source engine that was used that wasn't credited in the credits. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of things that are just a fucking mess with this game. So I wasn't particularly compelled to pick up this. Again, I played the original for about 10 minutes and didn't think it was great, as is the case with Sonic 3D games. But yeah, this hasn't helped the reputation that 3D Sonic games have had in the past, or I don't know, 20 odd years.
Yeah, I just hate to see like people who really care about something being delivered such a piss warm product. You just think like for the people that really are passionate and interact with something, that are excited for this game, to just be let down and disappointed to this degree. And yeah, it's not quite on a Cyberpunk level, but it's still pretty poor form, I would say.
Yeah. Although I have to imagine the numbers of copies of this sold compared to Cyberpunk, yeah, as you mentioned,
yeah,
probably quite different.
Look, at the end of the day, all glory to the Hypnotoad. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
All glory to the Hypno Disc.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Right, Robot Wars, motherfucker.
Yeah,
Craig
represent.
Charles, motherfucker.
That is it for another episode of Link to the Cast. Please like, listen, share, and subscribe. We appreciate any love from you fine people. We are available on most podcast platforms. Just search for Link to the Cast. You'll find us. If you are on iTunes specifically, please give us that big old 5-star rating, as that helps us in other people finding this podcast. If you want to contact us, as always, we are on Twitter at Link to the Cast. Give your hot takes, give us your questions. We're always happy to hear from the fine people in the community. As always, I am at Lithium Projekt. Over there is at Jack Lazell. Dave should hopefully be back next week at the Data Dave. Apologies to Garrett Kidney again for losing last week's episode.
Is this going to turn into like a Matt Damon on the fucking Jimmy Fallon show, or Jimmy Kimmel, sorry, where we just like, apologies to Garrett, we couldn't get to him this week?
He gets his one apology here, and that's it. Hopefully I don't lose this week's episode. Please, Audacity, please don't die on me.
Yep. Well, we got a backup this time.
Yes. But yeah, until next week, thanks for listening, and yeah, we will see you again next time.